These are some gear pullers I picked up on eBay, and I saw they had like a 3 gear set, or 3 gear puller set and a 4 gear puller set, and sometimes they sold the 8-inch one separately. And most of the time, if you're freaking pulling the gear off, you need the bigger ones. These little guys, I think they throw them in here because they say, oh, you can add, it's like, I mean, I don't know if you really use these too much. I don't know what application you would use these for. Reason I got this is, and you don't really need this. I know, like, I never had this tool, and I did time and change before, like on a 383 Chrysler, the 440 Chrysler, 318, and a small block. I think the Chrysler's got like 2 bolts you pull, use with the harmonic balancer, and you stick a breaker bar on a bolt of the harmonic balancer, and you use the engine starter, and it breaks it loose. That's how I always did them too. No torque. If you have an impact, yeah, but I didn't have impact back then. And I never had a problem getting this lower gear off, the one that's on a crank. I mean, it's kind of on there, but I don't think I didn't have these pry bars, but I pried it off. If you go all the way around, this thing's pretty strong. It's made in USA. Go all the way around. You'll get it loose enough. Put some penetrating oil on it, PB Blaster or something, or just plain trans fluid, and let it sit in there. Sometimes you very lightly tap around something too. It'll it kind of shocks the molecules and it breaks it loose. You don't really need these things, but they're cheap. Of course, they're made in China. But the first thing I did was I ran these up and down the threads all the way. This one that was 8-inch, when they made it on the lathe, because I'm assuming they made these. I don't know how good the steel is on them. This whole thing was only like, I don't even think it was $30, $26, 3-inch, a 4-inch, 5, 6, and an 8. So this is the 6-inch puller. There's the 8-inch puller. And how this works is the gear is grabbed like right around in there on all 3 sides, and then this is on your crankshaft, and then it's pulling it out. Obviously, I've got it the other way around, but and you lock these down into position, these bolts. So these things are either that way. You don't want to have them locked straight out because that's freaking weird. I guess you could if you had to, but they'll move a lot easier. Or you have them locked up like that. Usually you'll have them down because you need that extra length. There might be, length. You want to lock these in position. But, for the price, well worth it. But what I did first is I made sure I lubed up all this damn thing down here. Lubed up the threads. And, you can... I wouldn't put an impact on this, but it might not be a bad idea to use an air ratchet if you're going out a long ways. But use your hand ratchet; it'll freaking get out. But you don't really need these tools. It's not like they're freaking absolutely essential to do the job right. It just take you a little longer. And when you're putting this thing on, it's kind of a press fit. It fits in with this is the, the crank gear on a time and chain set. And I'm not doing this right away because I got other projects right now. But I figure it's got an old chain in here. This doesn't have the original upper cam gear because this, and it just says USA. I mean, sealed power. It's not bad. I didn't put a double roller. It's just a freaking 305 for crying out loud. But you know, this engine was rebuilt. I know that part because the block was decked. I know that. I could see that it was machined down and stuff. And it wouldn't have been running this good for all this time if it wasn't rebuilt, for one. That's another thing. It's an original engine, I'm assuming. I'm pretty sure of it. I was 100% sure. But what they used to do, and this is one of those stupid manufacturing things from the, you know, I guess pleasing the freaking yuppies, and it's a sales pitch. They used to take these gears and put nylon teeth on them. They were nylon teeth. Because this is the gear that was towards the top of the engine, and you can, if the engine's like really quiet and everything's running really good, you'll hear a slight whir if this is all metal. The nylon teeth, you wouldn't hear that. Even on a standard, you know, not even a double roller, you'll hear a slight whir. It's like minuscule. You got to open up the hood and stick your ear way down there, for crying out loud. I mean, but they did that. They did that just to make people think, oh, that engine sounds smooth, you know. The first thing that usually breaks on these, not the chain, it's the damn nylon teeth. On the Chryslers, the Chevys. Now, the Chevy small block, the Chevy 6-cylinder, they had like a gear drive. Well, I used to like that damn thing. So, you know, it's one of those marketing BS things. And I did find my harmonic balancer puller. 3 bolts to use on a Chevy, 2 bolts on I think the Mopars. This is my steering wheel puller. And should be able to pull that thing off, no problem. But I'll be putting a cam in this. I don't feel like doing it right now because I know it's going to get involved in a lot of stuff. And I got other projects started right now, and I don't like starting too many things. See, like when I do with this car, I do like little stuff here and there. You know, if it's kind of like up on jack stands from doing the exhaust system and putting those big muffler band clamps in there and stuff and painting up the exhaust. You know, I do that part, but it's never that far away from going back together and being 100% drivable. I don't like these, you know, I know it's best to pull the whole damn thing apart and do everything brand new, but then your car's laid up for freaking at least a couple years, man. I am definitely never doing that garbage. So I always do little junk here and there. And the other way, you can get these back on, you know, with a pipe that fits over here. Just tap it back on. Or, you know, I always have like these kind of screwdrivers like this. You can just tap here, tap there, tap there, tap there. And just don't go too hard. You're not going to screw nothing up. It'll get back on there. Even a harmonic balancer, you know, you can hammer the harmonic balancer on. Just don't hammer it on it directly. Just put a piece of wood on it. You know, just start tapping it and, you know, make sure it's straight. Tap on different sides. If it stops going, tap one side, tap the other. It'll go. It'll go. Put some oil on the crank and stuff. And then, I know back, I think Chevy, I think it was like 1965 on a 283. The harmonic balancer wasn't even bolted on the engine, man. It was just pressed. You know, I kind of like Chevy, but every manufacturer did something stupid. I can tell you that right now. I'm more of a Chevy guy than a Ford guy only for this simple reason. It's just that you can, parts for Chevys are easier to find and cheaper. What I like the best is the old Mopars, but I don't really like the small block Mopars, except you got the ultra rare 340 6-pack block with it's got a different heads on it too. It's got a different forged steel crank, and you know, Chevy made, you know, like all the old American stuff. But what I'm going to find out with this engine, though, later on, if we get the cam in there, it's got the, it's okay. I got the Holley 2-barrel 500C. Well, it's a Demon, whatever you want to call it, Barry Grant Demon. It's all freaking tuned about the best you can with this cam. This cam is obviously worn out in this engine because it doesn't have like a really good idle, and that's because some of the lobes are flattened out, because I probably never changed the oil with the right oil all the time, because I didn't realize that they were changing the formulation with these oils. I used to put oils that were good for flat tappet cams, and then they started changing the formulations, and now it's like, I think the only one left where you can get an oil that's not expensive, like you can use Valvoline racing oil. That's good to go. Castrol Edge Syntec is good for flat, even though it doesn't have all the zinc in it, or the ZDDP. That's okay. That one's supposed to run okay, because ZDDP, the zinc phosphate, isn't the only thing that'll make a flat tappet cam survive. But the cheapest oil out there is the Shell Rotella Diesel 1540 triple protection. That one still, they lowered the ZDDP a little bit, but it's still like a little over 1,100 parts per million. It used to be that SuperTech Wally World diesel motor oil 1540 was one of the highest, best rated flat tappet cam oils going. That was when they had the designation SM, as in Mike, Sierra Mike. And when they went to Sierra November, SN, if it says SN, and it's rated for cars too, and it says SN, by law, it's going to be no more than 800 parts per million. And that's more than likely going to be enough for a flat tappet cam. And it's pretty much all the diesel motor oils have been screwed up now, except for Rotella. I got a bunch of Rotella 1540 and straight 30 weight. So when I get this thing back together, it's going to have break-in oil in it, and it's going to get changed with the right stuff. And I'm going to keep some. I'll keep a gallon of Shell Rotella straight 30 weight with me, diesel oil. That's But what I'll probably do is I might run the Shell Rotella straight 30 weight with some Marvel Mystery Oil, just so it's got some little extra cleaning in there. Not a lot of Marvel Mystery Oil, just maybe a cup, and keep your rings clean and stuff. Because, to tell you the truth, straight 30 weight, despite, I know I'm kind of going long on this video, but straight 30 weight is giving you the older engines. I mean, not the new engines with the variable timing and the overhead cams and all these tiny little oil passages. You don't want to be running straight 30 weight. I'm talking about the old stuff, the original Generation 1 small block Chevy that was made from 1955 to 1986. Straight 30 weight is probably your best oil. I'm serious about that. You put a little Marvel Mystery Oil in it stuff. I'm talking about the old school stuff. Works best with the old school oil. You don't need like no 0 freaking 30 or some crap in those old engines, man. That's for the new stuff, because they got all these little intricate parts that change your valve timing. There's, they could be running. You could be running 3 timing chains up there with your dual overhead cams, and 4 valves per cylinder, and all these little dinky oil passages and stuff. Whatever your manufacturer says for today, use that. But I'm avoiding that garbage. What I'm going to find out, though, I'm going to see if I can get this engine with some pretty good gas mileage with HHO. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as good as if it was running electronic fuel injection and just a throttle body fuel injection and engine management system. I don't think it's going to be as good as that. But the HHO, when you inject a little hydrogen into the gas, what it does, it's, I know these people go, oh, that violates Faraday's law. Yeah, it ain't violating Faraday's law. What's going on is these engines aren't running that efficient. They got, they put it, they're not controlling the fuel mixture as accurate as a computerized engine with fuel injection. You add a little HHO, you're getting a more complete burn of your existing fuel because that hydrogen. That's why it works in this old junk pretty good. Doesn't work as good as, if you made it all electronic, computer control, but I don't want to do that. I want everything all manual. Simple, no complicated garbage. So this thing's going to have an HHO on it after we get the cam broke in, and for a few hundred miles, I'm going to be putting a HHO on this sucker. Then we're going to be doing a clutch with a zoom clutch without the heavy duty spring, new flywheel. And I don't know, if I really go to town with this car later, it's definitely not going to be the engine first. I was looking up the price on a complete axle end to end, not from Curry Enterprises or Moser Engineering, because they're freaking more money. But I seen some for under $2,000. Just get a 325 ratio, Ford 9-inch posi, with the pumpkin to Ford, made for the Chevy G body, and one of those from, I think it's 5-speed transmissions in M22 Muncie. That would run me over $4,000. And I don't know if I'm going to put that in this car, but I might sometime, maybe later on down the road. But then once all that junk's in it and it's got a really strong drivetrain, I just put like a regular 350 in this sucker. Probably only put out about 300 horse, but that's good enough. I like having the drivetrain real strong and the engine real reliable versus, real powerful and shit. But then if you want to, you take that 350, 275 to 300 horse and, dump the clutch and, do a burnout and hit second gear and do a second burnout. And, with M22 with regular stock tires on it and a 9-inch rear and a Ford 9-inch rear in the back, sucker ain't going to break for nothing, man, because it'll handle, 400 horse. It'll handle 500-600 horse, no problem. That's why I'm not going to get no crazy upgrades on the rear or nothing. As long as it's a Ford 9-inch rear with good axles and without the C-clips and all that bullshit, and 11-inch drum brakes, I don't care. So, but that might be later on. But a lot of ways you could do things without paying the big bucks. A lot of ways. And instead of going to a freaking restaurant, instead of going to a bar, instead of buying an extra pack of smokes or whatever the hell people do, better off buying tools and stockpiling tools. Tools are good to have, but you don't want to buy them high dollar bullshit things. I mean, sometimes they're worth it, but if you're pro, but if you're an amateur, most of the time you don't need the pro shit. The pros need the pro shit. The amateurs, I don't know. I like the USA tools, but I've never bought Snap-on in my life. I'm not knocking them, but I used to like USA Craftsman. This stuff's made in China for under $30. Really, what you're getting out of it is this thing and this thing. The 6-inch one and the 8-inch. These little guys, I don't know what the hell they're good for, man. I don't know. They just throw them in there to say it's 4-piece. Wow, it's got 4 pieces and this one's 3 pieces. Whatever. And you can make these tools last longer if you keep this damn thing greased. Because I ain't sure how good this Chinese steel is. I can imagine if you're really torquing down on this bitch. First thing on it that would go is, I don't think you'd break this. Don't doubt you'd break these things. You wouldn't break, it wouldn't shear off here or anything. First thing I would think would go is them damn threads. I doubt these Chinese parts are anywhere near as good as these USA ones too. And actually, if you look at, you know what I mean, look at one's a fine thread and one's a, look at this too. I mean, I don't know if like, I imagine if you put the snap-on tool or something, which would cost you major bucks, next to this, it might look kind of similar, but I bet you would have finer threads on it, but I'll guarantee you the steel would be totally different. So with this Chinese crap, you know, and you know what? With Chinese stuff, it's hit and miss. Sometimes they make this stuff really good. But then, you know, they're freaking killing those, you know, I feel bad for these Chinese workers, man. They're killing these guys, man. I mean, they're like working them to death. I mean, I'm not knocking the workers, but the quality control, and you know, we're getting a great price on this stuff. But the quality control is like, you know, sometimes these might really be lasting forever. Man, but I heard stuff with some of the tools, man, they freaking fall apart sometimes. Depends on your luck. Matter of fact, you know, I got an old Chinese generator here that's a copy of a Yanmar. And I've been using this thing since, I don't know, 2009. It always starts right up. And I used it for like days at a time when we had the hurricanes. And it runs really good. I had other people, man, they had a problem after 5 hours and they were pulling it apart. So sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. But I had other Chinese tools like I picked up this bullshit socket set over here just to work on a lawnmower. Figured I'd just grab those instead of taking out my other tools. They broke taking off the metal shroud off the freaking lawnmower when I was doing fixing the pulley. Those things snapped. I snapped most of those sockets. The only thing good on that set is the ratchet. You know, I think that's called Tough Steel or something from Walmart. Man, I'd avoid those things like crazy, man. So this thing might be okay though. I don't know. I've had some Chinese tools that lasted long, but you're best off spending your money on Chinese tools and spending your money in a Chinese restaurant, though. I'll tell you that right now. So get, you know, 6 of one, half dozen the other. Your indigestion only lasts you a couple of days. This, you could probably, you know, if it breaks, you might be able to do a bunch of cards with it. You know, you might be able to do a bunch of cards with it before it breaks. If you're a pro, I'd avoid junk like this. Pros know that. And I've been around the mechanical pros, man. And they're like Matco or freaking Snap-on, you know. Well, back in the day, man, they would never touch a freaking Chinese tool. They wouldn't even touch a Japanese tool back then. Some of the Jap tools are really good. Some of the Japanese are freaking some disciplined, hardcore mofos, man. They make some freaking solid stuff if you get the right junk. I can respect a lot of their junk too, man. Anyway, over and out.